Hello everyone, Kathy Williams-DeVries here with the 15th of 72 mini masterclasses on the Rosé Etudes. We're looking at number 15 of the first 40. And this is a marvellous little etude for your left hand. Left hand technique is often neglected as part of clarinet technical repertoire, so this little etude is absolutely brilliant. Because most of us being right-handed, we're used to all the technical stuff being on the right hand. And when it comes to left-hand stuff, we tend to struggle a bit. Well, I tend to struggle anyway. So this little etude is rather important as part of your technical training. Now, I've got absolutely no dynamics in this piece, so so if it sounds a little bit monotone, it's because I haven't got any dynamic markings. I do try to put a little bit of colour in there, here and there, so that it's not quite so boring. Now, it rocks along at 108. I don't quite like playing it that quickly. So if you were playing it with the metronome, and there's also a little bit of difficulty with the tone, especially in the fourth bar, and again in the eighth bar. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'll take it a little bit slower. I'll take it a little bit slower for you, maybe about 100. Excuse me. So now I'll play it through, and I'll point out bits of technique and musicality as we come along. So we're at P. Maybe don't practice it at P. Maybe practice it in a mezzo piano. And what we're doing is we're driving to the fourth bar, which is the dominant. So we go 1, so chord 1 eventually leading to chord 5. So maybe emphasize the first note of each 4 semiquavers. So practice it a little bit slower. And really revel in that, in the chalumeau, because most of the time you're around those throat notes, and it's a little bit nasty. And it kind of goes too fast for you to use covered fingerings. So this is actually a good chance to get good sounding throat tones simply through air support rather than anything else. So and then we repeat it. Only we're now in the fifth chord. And then we continue. So really, really nasty. Really, really disgusting. You're around A flats and A's, and so if we take those 2 lines again, let's take them a little bit slower. And watch at the end of the second bar going into the third, you're going from a B flat to an F. I find it tempting to go to an A. And then you've got this nasty, icky little bit. In this bar, you can get away with having the right hand down if it makes it any easier for you. But you can't have it down in the next few bars where you don't go up to the Clarion register anyway. So now we've got some nice little C sharps and G sharps and D sharps and stuff in this next bit. And I would actually go up to a mezzo forte there, especially when you're around that shallow. And then it gets increasingly nastier. We've got G sharps and F sharps and all sorts of nasty things, and this next phrase goes on for a couple of lines, and there's no respite really until we get into the Clarion a little bit towards the end of the section. And I like to slow it up a little bit because we're coming to an interesting section of the piece where we finally get out of the left hand throat stuff, and this section's relatively easy because we're back in the familiar Clarion and with all the right hand technique. But I like to shape the phrases a little bit, because you do tend to, you go up high and then you start again an octave lower, build up again and an octave lower. So and this bit is quite nasty. You need to learn the notes fairly well. But remember to have a relaxed jaw and throat so that you don't squeeze those throat tones, because otherwise sometimes the throat notes can come out as a squeak. But obviously I've learned it so well enough that I can't. So shape those phrases a little bit, especially when you're up the top. And here you can leave the fingers down, whereas you couldn't in the bar before because you're actually using more of the left hand than the right hand. So I actually leave those fingers down, and just when we thought the piece was getting easier, we're back into that nasty little throat tones with F sharps and so on. And now when we've got these broken chords, I want you to imagine that that the lower note is continuing, rather like a pedal note, and that gives you a rather nice effect. So and you can even drop down to a P there, because it's a repeated phrase. And again, try that pedal note effect again. In the fourth last bar I tend to hit the C sharp on the left hand side because you've already got your right hand E flat key down for the top D. So we've gotten through that rather nasty little etude. Please stand by for my full performance of it, and thanks for listening.